Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream scene. We have a really cool and pertinent episode. We're going to be talking about no cam streaming today. But first, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, Elgato Gaming. Big thanks to them for sponsoring today's stream. This segment specifically is brought to you by the Elgato Wave. The Elgato Wave 3 is a USB microphone that's more like a microphone and a mixer all in one. With Elgato's Wavelink software, you can easily route your audio from hardware or software applications and control the volume for you and your audience independently. The Elgato Wave 3 is now available at elgato.com. You can also type !Elgato in chat for more information. Big thanks to them for sponsoring today's show. And with that, I'm going to introduce my lovely co-host, my lovely, fantastic, hardworking, very awesome individual.
I'm just bathing in it.
Birthday boy.
Oh, that's true.
Be Hunter Wild. What's up, Hunter? How's it going?
Thank you, Lowco. Thank you for that glorious introduction. I was reading a book this weekend. Somebody was talking about their favorite rival that would give them so much anxiety because this other person was outperforming them so much, and they ended up having to get on a panel together. And at the last second, the moderator was like, "You know what? Why don't y'all introduce each other?" And they both pointed out how the other person is like their pinnacle rival. And then they started working together after that and just laying on so much praise. Immediately reminds me of this. Except that you're not my rival, but you do.
I was going to say, I don't remember being your rival.
The cool thing about rivals is that it pushes you to become better. And you definitely do that to me. So
that's good. I'm happy I can have that.
That's the praise that I would usually serve at the end that now has come early in response to this. I am the Hunter Wild, very happy to be here today talking about no cam streaming, something that has fascinated me for so long, in part because of how much I personally rely on facial expressions to do a lot of my communication. And I think most of us who utilize cameras predominantly in our streaming have that same kind of mentality. You can be expressive without using your words, but we have two wonderful people on the show today who have found ways to really make this work fantastically for them and their audiences. Ziggy and SkinnedTeen. Hello, you two. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, not each other.
Right.
Who you are, why you're here, and thank you, Ziggy, for visiting us from Norway.
Yeah, of course. That's no problem. Skin, you go ahead. I'll let you take it.
Well, I'm SkinnedTeen. Many know me as Jade. I occupy the weird part of the internet where I'm just off on my own doing all kinds of I don't even know what. I have a very weird stream. That's as good as I can really. I've been streaming for about 6.5 years, I want to say, and I've never used a cam. That's kind of the gist.
Not once.
So no.
All right.
Not even a little bit, like a pet cam or a foot cam.
I have had a pet cam where my foot has accidentally that's the most of it because it really I set up a camera to show off vinyl because I got a record player and the cats are always in here. There's one in here right now. There might be two in here and they're always just so I have to show them for a second. But yeah, I guess that's the closest I've come.
Awesome.
Fair enough. I'm Ziggy. I've been streaming for I think it's around 2.5, maybe 3 at this point years. Again, mostly doing no cam stuff. Predominantly doing most of my growth has been off of GTA RP, but as of presently been branching out into more variety stuff. It's funny you guys mentioned the birthday thing because that's also a thing that is a constant in my chat as well. So
it was actually Hunter's birthday. It's my birthday today.
Okay. I didn't know because it always happens. Happy birthday, Hunter.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, it's real.
But yeah, for the most part, I for a good long while, I didn't stream with a camera. Every now and again, I'd show my dog Zoe for a little bit, and because Chad loves animals, but that was the extent of it. It was very I don't know, sparse streams where I had the camera on for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting because GTRP, like, that is actually encouraged, with streaming in general. It's like,
Right.
okay, do I need a camera to start streaming? And people are like, I mean, you don't, but it's definitely going to be harder. Like, it's definitely a big plus to have a camera. But with
Right.
GTRP, it's like I don't know if people prefer not having a cam, but like it's more
You hear that a
immersive.
lot.
Immersive, right?
You hear that a lot. It's some people I know, especially in the GTRP scene, a lot of viewers are more invested in the characters than they are the streamers sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's definitely you get that a lot. It's like, hey, maybe we can have cam off for the day. I'd prefer that. So it's definitely a thing as far as GTA goes. That's for sure. Plus, you can also have the character do stuff in game, so that can be more of the reaction to what's going on rather than the streamer's face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. We usually like to start, with the basics, the really most simple. Define for us the thing. I think we pretty much know what camera and no camera means, so we don't have to
Right,
go
of course.
that level of basics. But one of the things Mike Lowco pointed out that happens a lot, especially for us at StreamerSquare, we as advisors to new and established streamers. From the newer streamers, we are constantly asked, do I have to have a cam? Should I have a cam? What are the benefits and detriments, the pros and cons for doing one or the other? Help me decide what direction I should take with this. So I'm wondering from both of y'all what some of those considerations should be, specifically for somebody who wants to introduce themselves into streaming, for whether or not to pick a camera or no camera.
Okay. Skinned, if you want to go first, go for it.
Could you quickly ask that question again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
This happens
Hunter
all the time.
likes to ask very elongated questions.
It's like 7 questions that get compiled into one.
In this essay, I will.
Yes, exactly. It's my thesis. The real question is, what should new streamers think about in terms of deciding between a camera or no camera for streaming?
Okay. I guess for me, my thoughts on that are, if you're the kind of person who you have to think about if you're more animated in your speech or if you're more animated in your gestures. Because if you feel that you can, you almost have to overcompensate for that lack of visual flair that a lot of people actually need. They don't want to watch somebody who doesn't have a camera, but you have to overcompensate for that with emoting with your voice, gesturing with your voice. So if you're somebody, and that doesn't necessarily mean just screaming at the top of your lungs all the time. That just means, having a good grasp on communicating that stuff with your voice. And if you feel like you're good at doing that, then give a shot to no cam streaming. That's one of the larger questions I always get asked about it. And I always have to tell people that you're working with overcompensating for that lack of visual thing. So
Right, exactly.
go into it with that in mind, I guess.
That's kind of the points that I was going to bring up. I feel, for the most part, I feel like having a camera helps as far as, like you said, with the visual aspect of things. I mean, if you can be, really good at, expressing things auditorially, I think that'd be, that's fine. As far as like growing with no cam, I think, as far as growth in general, I think it comes down to, depending on what you're doing as far as streaming goes, you have to be, either really good at what you're doing or entertaining doing it.
For sure.
And I think having a camera and being, expressive visually definitely helps out. But there are, like Skin said, if you're, if you can swing it, just, being more expressive with your voice, then absolutely. That's for me, that's how it worked out. As far as voice stuff goes, because you have to with GTRP, you have to put yourself into the characters and really like push that out there for anything to occur really.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's easier if you're going for the I'm really good at this game, I'm gonna just like go for being a skill type streamer, that maybe a camera isn't as necessary because people are kind of watching you for your gameplay anyways.
Right.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly. That's more what I was geared towards.
Mhm.
Because I mean, there's been people who I know. Let's say, for instance, it was a couple years back. There was a Rocket League streamer. He barely spoke. He didn't have a camera on at all. He was just really good, and I think he was one of the top streamers at the time. And that was I mean, that's how he grew. But I don't know, as far as just like trying to grow in general, say if you're doing like variety stuff, I think definitely a camera and just being able to have chat, be able to see the reactions and everything like that. I think it's just a big
Yeah.
part of it. But I think it can be swung as far as not having a camera goes.
Yeah,
I mean, sounds like, oh, sorry, go on.
No, I just wanted to add that like reaction streaming is actually its own niche now
It's its
with
own
YouTube
thing
and
now.
streaming. Like people want to watch you
Yeah.
react to videos, and it's
Yeah.
very interesting.
So
Oh, yeah.
it kind of sounds to me like there are 3 factors that can all be in play at once, but at least one of them has to be really prominent. Because the
Right.
purpose of streaming is connecting with people to some extent, which can just be a provision of entertainment. You got to be able to provide something enticing to a viewership. And there's a bunch of different like subsets of a potential
Right.
audience that could like all kinds of different stuff. But skill in the game itself, great communication via voice, and then incredibly emotive in your physical expression, body
Right.
language.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have all 3 at once, but you do have to have a bare minimum of one of them.
Right.
Just one.
Right.
Bare minimum of one of them. And one of the things that I do tend to see with like scrolling down in Discovery and finding people who have like 0 viewership and whatnot, which is the vast majority of streamers, jumping in there, it seems often to be limited skill, virtually no talking, and
Right.
not particularly expressive physically. And so that's
Right.
missing all that stuff.
Right, exactly. I think a lot of people starting out, they kind of they cling on to like chat activity. Say someone comes in,
Right.
they'll chat with them back and forth. But if it's kind of quiet, then they kind of just settle in and focus in on the game rather than trying to entertain anybody who may have jumped in for a second, seen what was going on, and left.
Uh-huh.
That's
Right.
a good point. When I started
Right.
out, I mean, I'm an only child, so I've never had a problem with
Me
just
too.
talking to myself, and so that's what I did. It's what I did. I just externalized what I was already, thinking, which wasn't difficult at all, and
Right.
that kind of became. I've noticed over the years I've become more reactionary as a person. So like if I like knock over a glass, it's not like it's no longer just like, oh no, it's like no,
Did that start from streaming and then move into the rest of your personal life, or
kind of, yeah.
incidental?
I've noticed that. Like I feel it happened last night. Trav poured me a glass of water, and within 5 seconds I knocked it over, and he goes, "Don't do that thing you do," and I go. So I've noticed that though, but I definitely tried to push that out more, just the reactionary side of things,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
and wearing more of that stuff on my sleeve, because otherwise you're just sitting there quiet and nobody thinks you're there,
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Can't even get a read on
Yeah.
what they're thinking or doing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Jade, what strategies do you employ to let me wheel this back so I can actually make it an understandable question.
I like
Preface
that
first and
I like
then
that.
ask.
Yeah, I like that kind of wizardy thing you just did with your hands too.
Yes, I'm Italian. I'm very emotive with my hands and expressions. Are there specific strategies that you employ and maybe recommend for filling in dead silence, leaving silence there, and otherwise making more use of your voice to communicate with your audience?
Well, as I started to gain viewers, that became easier because I put some of the onus on them to create points of interaction with me, like
Definitely,
like sound cues from chat, whether they're from a bot or something else, or
Like
some
typing in a
other
command and having an
Yeah.
audio portion
Right.
on stream.
that's become a big thing. They like to time it to something that I'm doing, or really that's that you almost kind of have to learn just like the art of kind of talking, and like when to use your voice to express those things, and when to kind of leave those pauses for, you know, hilarity or
That's what I wanted to
dramatic
ask.
effect,
Yeah.
so
Right.
to speak.
Exactly, yeah.
There's a lot of that comes into it. I know that I never expected that public speaking in college was actually going to become a thing that applied in my adult
There you
life,
go.
but it did. So that I learned some of those things from that, you know. And I do think when you're starting out, there's definitely nerves coming into it.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
a lot of people try to overcompensate for those nerves by doing different things and becoming a little more spastic. And I guess you
Yeah.
almost have to think of it like you're streaming to nobody, and you know, just be yourself. You know, what would you do in the
Right.
kitchen alone? Just do that. You know, like
I feel like it's a little bit easier without a camera to feel more comfortable being in your element, being by yourself, getting over that nervousness, because it's one less thing. Like, people can't see your face. Like,
Right.
yeah, I think that's why we're seeing more streamers kind of go to no cam streams, because it's definitely a lot less stressful on the streamer to
Yeah.
be
That's
all
true.
smiley and stuff all the
Yeah.
time. You know, you can kind of just chill and, like, you know,
And you can
feel
pick your
more
nose whenever
relaxed.
you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
actually
Big
I
benefit.
find myself being more expressive as far as my voice goes if I don't have my camera on, because I'm not worried
So
about
you actually shift
know,
gears.
right, exactly. I'm not worried about before 3 days ago I didn't have a green screen, so I wasn't worried about anything going on in the background or myself, how I was looking for the day, etc. You know, you don't have to worry about any of that, so you can kind of just throw yourself into the game, into stream, and you know, there is no like almost like a looking over your shoulder, but more of, you know, to your other monitor, seeing yourself, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's definitely there is a gear change for sure.
Yeah. And so, Jade, you mentioned that, you know, you went into streaming without using a camera. What was your, like, I guess, what was your mindset like initially? Like, especially because, you know, you see so many streamers, most streamers using cameras, and most people recommend to use cameras. So what was your
Yeah.
thought process with that?
Well, at the time, I had a job in video production, so I spent 8 to 10 hours a day putting other people in front of cameras. And I came home. I guess I did do one kind of stream before I actually really started. You know, I was playing around with the idea, and I was playing around with different camera angles and looks and ideas. And the overwhelming thing was that I spent so much more time setting that up, getting myself to look nice, and then sitting there and then just kind of being hyper aware of like
Oh yeah.
the fact that I'm on screen, and I've got resting bitch face, so I know that like that's I'm sorry I cussed, but still I've got that resting bee face. I've got that going on for me. So a lot of the time if I'm sitting here, that's just kind of what it is. And it for me, watching back on that first VOD, I thought, would I watch that? No. So I kind of went back to the drawing board and thought, you know, not only was that not enjoyable for me because I feel like I'm bringing too much of my day job into this, I'm also just it was a hobby for me. I wanted to finish video games, so I thought, let's just take a step back and make this more fun for me. So what can I do? And the avatar kind of came in as almost like a joke on myself because of the resting face, and
Yeah,
and
because most of those are
also-
like,
yeah, well, and also because everybody does, yeah, especially back in the day, it was, you had like your streaming kit 101, the Audio Technica, thing, the Behringer mixer, the green screen, you
Right.
got to have the kitschy name for your community, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
so I that was kind of a clown on myself because I wanted to get into it, but I didn't necessarily want to conform to the idea that I had to have those things to do it. So that was the
Right.
mindset I came into with it when I started.
it turns out making it enjoyable for yourself is incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
But making
100%,
the
yeah.
selections based on your preferences and your needs
Yeah.
should really be the first step
Yeah.
before considering what it appears to viewers. I think, in my opinion.
I had also started when I was living in a top floor apartment, and I started in like July. So it was already really hot in there with computers,
Oh.
adding in like a green screen and lights and all that stuff. That was not comfortable for me. So
Yeah.
That's
I
an
changed
interesting
it.
point, actually, that I had not considered, because I just default to I have a cam. That's just how it works. Rarely
Right.
considering removing it. But in Seattle, we have no AC at all, and the same thing back in
I've heard about
Portland and
this.
most places.
You guys
So
don't have like ceiling fans either, I think, or something.
I do have ceiling
You do?
fans.
Oh,
Wow.
But this adds so much additional heat that I have to work through in the summer that could be removed by just shifting gears a little bit for a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, think about
Yeah.
it. It's not just your camera you have on; is you have to have good lighting and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, and
Yes,
just
you
the
do.
heat from those
Exactly.
alone.
And the extra expense,
Yes.
buying the lights and owning the camera and the green screen if you're putting one up behind there, and or designing an overlay. Well, I guess you're still gonna have overlay stuff without a cam.
And
I
you
have a
need
perfect
clothes.
plug
You
for
have to
Elgato.
own shirts, right? Like, you gotta wear
Technically.
shirts.
That's
and
true.
stream.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the
You do
most
have,
part.
that is true. You
Yeah.
have to clothe yourself.
There's a lot that goes into that, and I definitely shower before every stream, and I kind of fix myself up just as if I was gonna go out and do stuff most of the time. Sometimes I will sit here in my pajamas because I haven't changed all day or whatever, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have that extra burden of trying to make it look extra nice or whatever.
You do have another
Mhm.
option for that. Yeah.
Yes, I have another option for that. But the trade-off is that I have to make sure that my voice is warmed up and ready to go, or that I'm ready to stream for 10 hours and, feel like this the next day a little bit. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, exactly. I think someone asked a little bit ago. I want to pull it back up. It says, let's see, backward bloom. I understand the importance of a voice. When starting out, do you need overlays or other things to make the channel stand out? I'm assuming if you don't have a camera or something like that. I would say, I mean, I usually initially I don't think it's super important. If you're
To
kind of
have
starting out,
overlays and whatnot.
right? Yeah, I think. I mean, just like a basic stuff, sure. But I think as you continue to stream and say more people come in and you kind of like form, even if it's small, a community, and you have like running, ongoing jokes and stuff like that. I think that could be more engaging as far as the people who are already involved. And say if new people come in, they'll want to know, what's going on with this, that, or the other. And that can be explained. Yeah, that was just I'd seen that and wanted to comment on it.
that was
Yeah.
the comment about the having overlays and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I also went in. The name SkinnedTeen's kind of a lie. I'm not a teenager. I also
I feel
used
so
to work,
deceived.
yeah. I used to work in graphic design. I still do, but I used to as well. And I always had a love for kind of branding stuff, and I wanted to really emphasize a visual, again, something to compensate for that lack of camera. I wanted something else that was visual to get people to latch on. I wanted them more so to latch on to that brand, I guess, than my face as the brand. I wanted it to be
Right.
I don't want
more
anybody
of
to
an
latch onto my
aesthetic.
face.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Sounds
not
painful.
yeah. So I went forward with creating that kind of aesthetic in terms of having a really strong like visual element like overlays or whatever I thought was important, even if it's minimal, just something that makes it stand out a little bit. That was another
Right.
thing that the avatar kind of helped with, is everybody was like, what
That's
is
fair,
that?
yeah.
You know, what is that? Oh, it's me. What do you
I mean,
where's the
it does.
camera? It's
It
there.
creates
What do you
a talking point
Right. Exactly.
for the audience, which I think is very valuable.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the main thing about streaming is the chat wants to feel involved in some way. And I know, Jade, you mentioned like you have sound alerts, like a soundboard that people can interact with. I think having those types of things can really help kind of make
Yeah.
up for the distant feeling that a community can have with not having a camera, right? It's just like one less thing to distance yourself. So, adding in something like that can help like make the chat feel more engaged again.
Yeah, you kind of bridge that gap.
Correct.
Right.
I wanted the chat to be as big a part of the stream as I was. I didn't want it to necessarily be so centrally focused on me, even though it is by nature
Yeah.
of how it is. I wanted them to be as big a part of it in some ways. So.
Right.
Mhm.
I,
Yeah.
Part of my thinking because it came up a couple of times, when you're just starting, things to consider. And there was something that for whatever reason, I'm fixating on as a point of advice for starting. I feel like you don't have to make a commitment to cam or no cam at the beginning. And I'm a big
Exactly.
fan of like iterative design and kind of progressing through various stages that you kind of develop for yourself. And it's a great idea, in my opinion, and y'all can comment at will, to ease into streaming by having like test streams. I would do a month of test. I did do a month of test streams with no overlays, no alerts, just getting the feel for it, not trying
Right.
to gain an audience,
Mhm.
not trying to do, but feeling my way through the performance. And I feel like that can be a great way where you feel like there's no pressure because you've given yourself an out for no pressure. You don't care about growth. You're testing things out. No
Right.
cam, full cam, backgrounds. Do you go back and watch your stuff and feel like it's a little empty? Maybe you need an overlay of some sort. Give yourself some time to process through it and feel out what's good and what works for you to decide what you want to present to
Exactly.
your future
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. That's exactly what I did whenever I first started out streaming. I had different time periods where I'd have my camera, I'd set up a specific overlay with different alerts and stuff like that, and then after a certain amount of time, after even feedback through talking with my community, especially with GTA at the time, you turn the camera off, less stuff on the screen. And then that worked out for a little bit, and then as things progressed, it just have like intermittent camera streams, just very rarely, like once every few months or something like that, and then people wouldn't enjoy that as like an occasional thing.
Mhm.
So that's I mean, even now, up until 3 days ago, I didn't have a green screen or proper lighting really. So
You've been streaming 2 or 3 years.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm still testing and going through different stuff. So
Yeah, one
Wow.
thing I've noticed with GTRP is streamers will, when they're actively playing as their character, they'll turn the camera off for full
right,
immersion. But like there's some downtime, there's like some in between times, and then the beginning and the end of their streams, they'll turn their camera back on so they can,
yeah,
have that talk with their community and engage, and
Interesting.
then go back into like focusing on the role playing.
oh yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of people who are starting to get more comfortable with camera stuff, because I know there's a lot of people who grew really quickly during the GTRP boom this
Yeah.
time last year. Who weren't comfortable doing camera stuff, but I think as time goes on, they're progressing and like trying out different things. And I think a lot of people now are starting to do that more. And I think all in all, I think it's a little beneficial because people who watch GTRP, they know the characters and the storyline, and but they don't really get to see who's behind it and the streamer.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people kind of invest themselves in that when they do get to see it.
Yeah, and I think that helps if you try to transition to doing other games outside GTA, which I know,
Oh,
Ziggy,
absolutely.
that's something you've done. What has your experience been like? And do you still use do you still not use a camera during outside of games?
So it depends on the day, really. Most of the times I don't, and that's when I really, kind of I try, because with GTA, you interact person to person. It's like you bounce off one another. It's kind of simple. Once you move over into other games, it's usually just you, doing whatever it is. So you have to be more. Again, it's like a gear shift, especially if you're not on camera. Into having to just think out loud more, focusing on what's going on in chat, or just it's definitely, you have to be a lot more attentive and expressive. But there are times where where I think it'd be good to have my camera on just for I'll be watching videos or something like that, and I think it'd be fun for chat to see a reaction.
See the reaction, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So most of the time, no. But there is days where I'm like, you know what, this would be fun. So
How's your community responded to you kind of going outside the GTRP? I feel like, do you feel like using a camera on and off has helped with them kind of being more attached to you doing other things?
yes, yeah, absolutely. That's something that I've been trying to focus on just in general, is more being a streamer, not just a character, as far as GTA goes.
Interesting kind of distinction there. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So I've been, trying to say I'll do like 4 hours of GTA, and then for the rest of the 4 hours of the stream, I'll swap over to something else, or just talk about something else. And sometimes that's with the camera on. I think whenever I do turn the camera on, it definitely improves me winning them off of GTA. But it's hard to tell the difference right now. Again, I'm still testing new stuff. I'm definitely going to be doing more cam stuff. The past, I'd say I'd say like 4 months, I haven't really been doing too many cam streams, while also doing variety and trying to be more expressive once I get off of GTA. So and that's been good. They're receptive of that. But I think moving in with trying more camera stuff, we'll see. And I'll see if I can get the differences for the next upcoming weeks, for sure.
Yeah, I think, one thing that Hunter mentioned is, being able to, go back and forth between camera and no camera, and seeing what you like. Because I think one thing that you should realize if you're just starting out streaming is, I don't think almost anyone is really that comfortable in front of the camera streaming for the first time.
Right.
No.
It is a weird thing. You're very
Very
hyper aware
strange.
of being in a room by yourself talking.
Exactly. Yeah.
So definitely feel free to bounce between the two, because I don't think it's one of those things that will it's not a very non-committal decision to have a
Right.
camera or not, right?
It is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And very personal,
Yeah,
Oh,
you got to
yeah.
do what makes you the most comfortable, at the end of the day, because
Absolutely.
if it feels forced, people are gonna be able to tell, right? Especially if you have a
Right.
camera on.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we basically have a built-in evolutionary mandate to judge people based on how we perceive them, which is
Right.
always through expression. And if you're
Exactly.
uncomfortable with how you're expressing yourself, and you're
Mhm.
meant to be entertaining and connective with an audience and a community, you've done a disservice to yourself and to them. So picking the thing that works best for you is going to be what works best for your future audience.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think being comfortable as far as if I don't know, being comfortable in general is a big thing. For me, whenever I was first starting it out, in fact, Vane pointed it out. It can be a little daunting, and I'm comfortable for the most part with myself. But the first time I was streaming, I don't know, maybe 10 people, and the first time I had ever turned on my webcam, and the first thing, the next thing that came through my chat was, Ziggy, you need a new face. Because
Wow.
a lot, it's all right. A lot of people say that my voice doesn't match my face at all, which I kind of agree with. But it can definitely like that those sort of things are daunting. So I think you being comfortable with having camera off or on, it really does depend on you. And you just have to switch up how you stream a little bit based on that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's an added layer of trolls, right? That can come in and poke fun of your appearance, right?
It's true.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing. I think for me, like I said, I'm relatively comfortable with people. I mean, I have a large forehead, so people come in and kind of
Hey,
just
so do I. It's all
do
good,
that sort of thing. Yeah. No, I'm good.
The
It's
joy of
just,
hats.
right. Exactly. I thought about grabbing one. Right.
My receding hairline is definitely helped by the hat. I can tell you that much for sure.
I guess camera opens you up to that, but as a woman, that does not go away when the camera's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because trolls are creative one way or another.
I have had some very unique. I mean, I've had the straight up normal, you must be fat kind of thing.
Right.
And then I've had the more
ugly
creative
or
ones.
whatever.
Yeah, I've had the more creative ones that I've done things with.
Right. Yeah.
You mean turned into content?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are the best.
Yes, that meat emote that Toby uses is a direct response to a troll that came in.
He uses it all the time.
It came in real hot and asked me if I was the typical piece of slut meat.
And that's where that came from.
That's where that came from, yeah. And I had never. That's a very interesting thing.
Unique
to call
terminology.
Somebody. So I decided to just dive in on that one, for about 8 minutes. Yeah, I just wanted to know, because that is the only thing that guy ever said to me. And then his follow-up was, "I'm asking respectfully," and I was like, "Whoa, okay."
And yet, yes,
well, then in that case,
yeah.
Wow.
In that case, let's talk about So I've eased up on that, because I found that if you feed the trolls, they would just want more. And the more you you can leverage that stuff if you're comfortable, but you will quickly be known as that person who does that and entertains it. And if you don't want to do it all the time, you can't. But if you feel comfortable with it, like I think it was Rennie who asked something about this earlier with the female streamers and that kind of stuff. That kind of harassment doesn't necessarily go away when you stop using a camera.
Exactly.
I mean, just look at any complaint from competitive multiplayer games where literally any woman plays.
Exactly.
It's less focused directly on your appearance because they don't have that to latch onto, but it still exists just because you're a female, and hopefully that'll lessen over. It's starting to get better just because people are finally realizing it's old hat, but
I remember getting comments like that when I was like in high school playing on the Xbox, like online, like you're fat and ugly, and it's funny because it's just like you don't have a camera, you get called fat and ugly, and you do have a camera and you still get called fat and ugly. It's like okay, you can't win.
So you're familiar with like playing on Xbox and saying one thing and your inbox fills up immediately with various there was a whole website about that called, I think, fatuglyandslutty.com or something, where women would just send in screenshots of all the stuff
of their inbox.
Of all the weird things they'd get from people just because they
It's a weird
So-
dichotomy between like trashing your appearance and assuming you're just like this horrendously ugly fat person, and then like also wanting to sleep with you. Like I don't.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
Usually
know.
the same people too, so I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know which way it is.
Psychological tension in the like incel mentality. I don't know why it plays out that way.
Yeah, that's not using a camera won't necessarily get you away from that kind of stuff.
Right.
You do have to kind of find a bridge with yourself to kind of move past it from there, or learn to cope with it when it comes in. And realize that those people are, especially if you strip them of that camera thing, they're grasping at straws, just
exactly.
don't,
Too much harder to get a reaction.
throw
Like,
it
you have
back
to
in
call.
throw it back in their face, or just better yet, just get them out of your chat entirely,
Yeah, I think that's at least a little bit of the upside is they can't see your reaction, so they don't even know if you've seen it unless you say something. So
Yes.
right.
I think it's easier to play off, like just to skip over or just let yourself like, because when you first start streaming, like that's gonna affect you no matter
You'll see it.
how confident you are. People
it
like
hangs there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yep. Let's see. I think someone a little bit ago marked. He said, "Do you think the lessons technique?" I know you answered it in chat. Do you think lessons techniques of say broadcast, radio hosting / acting and audio plays would be beneficial?
Yeah. I provided no elaboration. I was just like,
all good. Absolutely. That sort of thing. If you have a background in that at all, it definitely helps you be more, expressive. You're constantly, talking about different things, and you have to be, especially say if you're on the radio, clear and concise most of the time. There's usually someone, listening to make sure that you're doing okay. But and then you also said improving is big. That is, you're live, depending on how most people, I'd say around say 4 to 8, sometimes 12-hour streams. It's a lot about improving. You just kind of have to whether just think out loud or just create something to put out, especially if you don't have a camera going. It's just constant talking.
Yeah. Trav said it in chat a bit ago, and I'm paraphrasing because I couldn't find it up there, but something about having a musicality to your voice.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
When you talk, and yeah, almost thinking about it from, if you're not using a cam, from a radio perspective, which might seem kind of, in this day and age, to younger people, they might be like, what's radio? But yeah, if you think about it from a like a podcast or radio standpoint, you want that kind of, even if you're more energetic or you're less energetic, you want that aspect of it.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned that earlier about being like, extra reactionary with your voice to make up for not being able to be seen. Did you find that came naturally to you, or did it get better as you streamed, or did you do anything to get better at doing that?
I think it came naturally for me. I think it's gotten better as I've continued, but it was definitely a lot rockier when I started out, because I had a confidence to the idea that I could maybe bring a small group of people together in my chat or something, just based on being on the internet for a long time and having different groups of friends over periods, and almost being like the person who ended up being like, what are we gonna do today? And I'm like, don't look at me, but they were looking at me, so
right, exactly.
Yeah, so I had a feeling that maybe I could carry a stream in that regard. As far as talking out loud, that at first, yeah, I do think I had a knack for it, but it wasn't as good as I guess I am now. I think I'm improving every day on it in different ways.
Yeah. So as far as that for me, I think I caught a lucky break as far as GTA goes, because with roleplay, it's a constant back and forth between different characters and stuff like that. And I think it definitely helps you, especially when you're interacting with somebody else who is like very expressive and silly or something like that. I think you definitely kind of feed off of that energy and can bring it into whatever character that you're playing or even just stream and stuff like that. I think that kind of just coasted me right into having that sort of upbeat energy for both role playing and handling stream stuff. So I think that was pretty pretty big for me. And I think for me it was easy because I kind of got that push start with interacting with people. I think had I not been starting out with GTA roleplay stuff, I don't think I would be as good as I am now.
Yeah.
That definitely coasted me into it.
And that's one of the interesting things too, right? That's just like pretty universal for humanity as a whole. Pushing yourself into uncomfortable, areas where there's an extraordinary challenge that you have to meet, and you're not even sure how you're going to be able to meet it. Turns out that it helps refine our abilities, and it helps us figure out whether or not we even want to be doing that thing. But it tends to push your internal boundaries and help you learn how to excel at that thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really interesting. So, wait, does anybody have any more to say on that one? Because I wanted to shift gears.
Oh, no,
I don't think so. Yeah. Okay.
Talking about so this is kind of bringing back something that we talked about before, but I want to get a little more in depth about it. The on-stream, like through OBS, what viewers see, representation of yourself for people who choose to go that route, as opposed to no cam, no little image that represents the streamer or whatever. What options are out there that you've seen, that you've explored for putting some kind of a representative, an avatar up? Like face rig or things like that, developing your own, a static image, whatever.
Right. I've seen plenty of people go that route, and I think it's definitely interesting to watch an avatar, say with face rig, or even I know there was like filters there for a bit that were like you could just have stay on your face, etc. That they used instead of actually just having plain camera stuff. It's interesting. I think with the face rig stuff, it is expressive. I think it's limited, but I mean, I think it works out all the same. It's definitely it's what do I say? I want to say like niche almost. I'm not sure. I mean I don't mind it at all. I think it's as long as the person is also expressive auditorily, and then the avatar is also being fun and silly. I saw one guy who was able to I think he was like, I can't remember what it was. He was a dog, and he was having a lot of fun with it.
The one Manny or whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
The Shiba Inu or whatever that used to play like CS:GO. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. He has all sorts of visual stuff that he does with that now. He travels across the screen. Goes dancing with it. It's great. I think I don't know. I mean, he's obviously found success with it. I think it's definitely a route that people could take if that interests them.
Well, yeah, my community was getting into a huge discussion this morning on Discord about the VTube.
Yeah,
that whole new, that's becoming a whole niche within itself.
What
and
is
they
that?
were just like, it's where it's where they have like the anime character in the corner, and it's a more, I've not really seen a whole lot of it, but it's almost like a separate thing. Like
it's huge on YouTube.
It's huge, yeah. So and of course they were like, was just Jade a VTuber? And I'm like, I didn't weigh in on that personally because I don't really know, but because it doesn't seem like I could be classified as that because of the avatar, but I don't think so because I haven't looked at it enough to know. It almost seems like it's something completely different. Like it's it's role play in a different way. Like somebody's role playing as this character.
You're role playing the avatar, yeah.
Yes, that's
Interesting,
sort of
okay.
what it seems like.
I feel like that in life. Is that different? Is that not?
I think that's an entirely different topic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another day.
Got it. We're gonna save that one.
Yeah, so I feel like everyone's hearing about being a VTuber right now. I sound like such a boomer. These VTubers.
These VTubers.
Well, these VTubers over here. Well, you see, Pokimane just announced that she's gonna be doing some more no cam streams using an avatar, and I think
Really?
actually it met with some backlash or like gatekeeping by the current VTubing community. This is a whole new thing that I'm learning about,
Gatekeeping
so I'm
on the
trying my
internet?
best here.
Listen,
But yeah,
I was
so
doing it before any of them.
it's so some of the top earners on YouTube streaming are VTubers. It's a massive thing over there. And I think whether people want to call it VTubing or not, it's coming over to Twitch now. And with Pokimane, but also I've just seen more and more streamers transition to more no cam streams with an avatar. And some even have like interactive avatars, not just like a static
Right.
picture, but ones that have different expressions that I think like the streamer just changes based on what's happening.
I think, I mean, again, I keep referring back to it. Having a character to put yourself into and have that, be the focus point of the stream instead of yourself, it definitely helps you, be more expressive. So that way they're focused on, say what the avatar is doing or what you're making it do, instead of, worrying about, how you're acting, what you
Yeah.
look like,
Mhm.
etc.
Your actions get to be more choiceful instead
Right.
of just your incidental
It's
expressions.
like you're
Right.
a puppet master, you know?
Right, exactly, yeah.
What? You're controlling the.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
I don't
I
know
think-
why it was
Fascinating.
comical. It was just funny to me.
Right.
I'm
so with,
800 years old, so yeah, we still play with puppets. So
right. So that way, I mean, say for instance, these VTubers not only get to, put themselves and be more comfortable with being expressive, they get to do that without themselves being seen, but also have a visual representing, what they're trying to convey,
Mhm.
visually. So
Yeah,
I think that's
I feel like this option is good for people who have grown their channels with a camera, but want to have more times streaming without a camera. Because as we
Right.
discussed, there's a lot of benefits to not having a camera. It's just less stress. It's less
Right.
exhausting. It's not as hot when you have the lights on.
yeah.
And so but
Praise.
I feel like for
Yeah.
like a community that expects a camera, and just going to no cam can be kind of like a shock. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how like, how viewers take to just going from camera to no cam, whereas Avatar is kind of like a nice in between.
Middle ground. Yeah, and something that
Right.
pops into my head for maybe attempting to make the transition on occasion, maybe
You're gonna be an anime
permanently-
VTuber?
No, well, I mean, I'm weighing a bunch of options right now.
Just saying,
It's
you could do
true.
it.
Yeah, but
Considering a
the
lot.
thinking for me is like I'm just so event focused, is to create a no cam event. So it's something interesting and
Yeah.
exciting for the viewership that you pitch in advance. That's like, we're gonna be doing something different, and it's really cool for all these other reasons. But kind of thinking like, don't focus on the no cam part. We're doing all
Right.
this extra cool stuff, and there's
Exactly,
no
yeah.
cam, and then that kind of gets people excited for the no cam streaming that they may choose to do in the future.
Right.
I have an idea, Hunter. You know how people, pay to have a camera turned on? You can pay to have your camera turned off. You know what I mean? Like people pay and
avatar
turn the
off.
camera
I would
on.
make so much money for people to not see my face.
Hide Hunter's mug, $50.
You know what? I'm writing that down.
I've actually
I'd take
I've
10%,
done
Hunter,
that.
just saying.
Okay.
Saying
Credit where
the
credit's due.
contract you signed.
Uh-huh.
I've done that. In fact, some again, I only know this because I'm in the community, but I imagine plenty of other streamers do it as well. Say like sub goal or something like that. Once you hit, a certain sub goal, you have like a cam stream for a planned day or something like that.
Bananasaurus Rex did that. He never used to use a camera, and then he did a like a subathon that was like that or something. I can think of a lot of people who have done it with varying success. Admiral Baru always used to use a web camera. He's probably the most successful one that went camless and is still kind of at the top. I know that Trevelyan stopped using a camera, and I think he stated that he felt that he saw dips. I know Jen Denise did the same thing too, but she does it more to relax. I know people who have gone back from not using a cam to going back to using a camera. And I think it's all just it's based on your comfort. You're going to see varying results depending on how your community responds to change.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, that's what I think personally about it. And I will say that it's much harder of a climb to be successful without a webcam, depending on what you are doing. Asterisk.
Yes.
If you're in like role play, I think it's probably more successful when you're like in my shoes or something. I might have better. I mean, I'm doing fine now, but it might be double what it is if I used a cam, because there are some people who just really vehemently are like, nope, won't watch cam will stream, which is that's their prerogative.
Sure.
I've always just kind of wanted to do my own thing, and don't judge a book by its cover, et cetera, says the girl named SkinnedTeen. I'm a particularly challenging one that I don't feel like, once you get past it, you're just like, oh, but there's a barrier there of entry at first.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I do think that's something to consider if you're starting out and you're looking for a specific goal in mind. If you're looking to grow, you should probably not do it this way unless you feel like you can overcome all those things or be okay with those pros and cons.
Drawbacks. Yeah.
I suppose it comes down to how do you want to grow as a streamer, right?
Correct.
How are you comfortable growing with, like, for instance, I try and make a focus as far, for me and my community is being open to change, streaming at any point during the day. That's mostly because I have a terrible sleep schedule. But, just have constantly, different things, different games, different, I don't know, just building a community around, having change or just setting it into where, something that they're used to and that you are also comfortable with is probably the biggest thing.
I would agree with that. That's definitely true. Training. I hate to say it like training, like.
I mean, it is.
Like it's puppies in a box.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But so that they know that's
habituation.
Yeah. Right. That you're that kind of streamer that may do it this way one day and this way the next.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that kind of comes to mind with frequency for me is this is one of the things that Lowco and I talked about leading up to this show, is that a lot of, as had also been mentioned, a lot of people have started doing no cam days for a variety of reasons. And one of them is a matter of comfort. Like it may be an iffy mental health day and you don't feel like presenting yourself in like full regalia, and me putting on all like makeup for the lights and whatever, just converting over to something that allows you to sit back and relax still lets you stream, where otherwise I might not. I might be like, it's just a bad day. It's just like, I'm not going to be able to present my face in a way that's going to make for a good stream. So I'll just cancel it. But instead, you just make a conversion over to a slightly different type of content.
Yeah. And I think for those, say, you're starting out, or even just, if you're like a good ways into it, it's hard to, kind of keep that up if you have a camera on, because you're doing it, I mean, everybody's different, but you're streaming for several hours at a time, sometimes most of the day. And to be comfortable with yourself, having been sat in a chair for 8 to 12 hours and getting swamped anyway.
Yeah,
yeah,
just like
yeah,
drenched in sweat, and feeling
exactly.
stinky and
Yeah, with
sticky.
lights on the computers, you're sweating.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of streams where I was like, all right, I'm gonna do cam today, it'll be all good. And I'm sitting here, I'm having a good time, stream's fine, but I'm sweating, and I'm like, man, if I go to raise my arm for anything, it is just gonna be
dark. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
What
So I was
happened
like,
to
you know what?
Ziggy? Oh, he passed out.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely, you have to be, again, it comes down to a comfortability thing and how you want to grow with your
That's true.
community.
I agree. When I had started out, I didn't have. I mean, it was 2014. I definitely didn't have this as a career in mind. It was a hobby. I never thought
Yeah.
it was ever going to grow to anything, and it was really to finish video games, specifically The Witcher 1. I tried to play it 2 or 3 times in a row, and I
Which is
couldn't.
probably one
So-
of the reasons why you're so successful.
Yeah.
You didn't go into it with that mindset.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't go into that mindset, and it's like grown to a degree I wasn't expecting it to at all, and it is now the thing that I do for a living. And I always try to go back to how I felt when I started, which was that kind of just a hobby thing, which is really
Right.
difficult to do now.
Yeah.
Because it is how I
Oh, yeah.
eat,
Right.
But in terms of growth, because I didn't have a map for it in my head, once it did start to gain some traction, I always looked at Dan's gaming as having done it the way that I maybe would have done it in terms of the long con. He just did it. It was like it's a slow growth. He was also in the right place at the right time, as I do feel like there's an element of luck a lot of people experience when it comes to this. But the lightning in a bottle kind of growth has always terrified me.
Yeah.
Because it's so it's here and it's gone. Sometimes you have to be really good at keeping that, or you get your expectations too high because it spikes that quickly.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to grow it slowly over time, and that's
Totally with you on that.
That's something I've always tried to maintain. I prefer it to be stable,
Yeah. Yeah, I've been on the other end of that where there was a massive spike.
I can imagine with GTA.
Drop. Yeah. So I think, especially, I think it's a little bit more difficult, and we've already gone over it, not having a camera or anything like that. But you was streaming, I didn't start it out as wanting to grow or anything like that or making it my job. It was just kind of like I had friends who may have wanted to see, what was going on with like some story that was going on between 2 characters, and it was like a few people. But after a while, after you kind of get into it and learn more about it, you definitely should try if growth is like the objective and you've been doing it for a while and maybe you have like something small already, is to put yourself in a position to get lucky. Consistency and constantly being expressive and putting yourself out there, I think is that, I mean, that's what did it for me. And sometimes you do get really lucky, which was what happened to me. And at the time, whenever I spiked, I wasn't streaming with a camera. Well, I mean, it was kind of it was a little bit of an anomaly with GTA stuff, because I mean, you see a lot of games, spike and like, trending, like let's say for instance, Fall Guys the past month, Among Us this month. And I think whenever you get to have your person-to-person interactions and it, having, those high number streams on Twitch, there's a lot of trickle down with, interacting with one another. And I think Among Us is probably another one of those games where, a lot of streamers are interacting with each other and, viewers will mix and mingle and stuff like that. And if you have, let's say a camera on and stuff like that, I think it's good for it. I don't know. I guess again, I guess it just depends, but yeah,
I could see that more socially inclined multiplayer things.
right, yeah,
Maybe that I don't want to call them networking opportunities, but those opportunities to interact with different communities, larger communities often.
right,
Because yeah, that GTA boom really struck when Soda Poppin' just with one day was just like, I want to do that, you know, like
yeah,
and that was crazy to watch. And so yeah,
Tastemakers and trendsetters.
yeah, and well, and I think the same with Fall Guys. A few huge streamers were doing it, and that just kind of became the thing. And yeah, if you are looking for that growth, being in that space is definitely worth it. I
yeah.
would say,
Mhm.
yeah.
So let's switch gears and talk about um audio, because obviously this is an aspect that's going to be so important because there is no video. So you got to have some crisp audio, right? You can't have like some cheap headset mic if you're going to go no cam. What are you guys rocking right now?
Audio was the most important thing to me when I started this.
Yeah.
Because I needed it to sound very, very good. And that is where I will once again reference Trevelyan, because he was
Travis, yeah.
back in the day and even to this day, he was kind of the beacon of quality and the person who normalized the use of the Shure SM7B across the platform, I think. So
Yeah.
and that's what I'm using here with like a Mackie mixer and an obscene amount of like compression.
Wait, am I the only one without that microphone on the show right now?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Hunter,
Yep, with it.
gonna go
Hunter.
no cam.
Yeah, so for me it was super important starting out with, so whenever I started streaming I was still living with my parents, and we had family over all the time. We had dogs, you know, nephews, etc. So, you know, there was constant background noise, and if I was just using, let's say, a normal headset mic, which I was for I don't know, a couple of weeks, you would constantly get feedback. And in my room at the time, I mean, I had a computer going. I also had the hottest room in the house, so I had fans going, and you just get constant feedback. And for me myself, I listened to it back, and I'm like, that is not something that I would want to sit and listen to for several hours at a time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, things have to change up. And eventually, as time went on, you know, I got different gear for stuff. I think initially I started out with a AT2020 USB mic with no mix or anything like that. I just toyed with Voice Meter Banana for hours on end until I got it to work. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first started, I had like an Audio Technica USB mic that I ran through Audition and a lot of
Adobe Audition?
VSTs. Yeah, a lot of VSTs and stuff to make it sound what like I wanted, which was this. So.
And you know, Jade, you made a good point in chat. Like, you don't need a $400 microphone
Right.
No.
to
Exactly.
start out doing no cam streams, right?
No, you really don't. You just need an understanding of audio concepts and how that stuff works. You can spend much less to get, you know, especially if you feel like what you have is good, and even if you are weary about it, yeah, don't blow your budget on thousands of dollars of audio equipment because you think it's the missing factor, because it's not going to be.
Absolutely. I mean, you have things like the Elgato Wave that has like embedded into it compression abilities and virtual mixer. I'm just saying. But you know, that's a great entry level mic. There's also the NVIDIA RTX voice that you can use that will do incredible work on eliminating background noise. And
you have the
even
hardware for
OBS.
it, but don't spring for it if you know, because that's a little expensive.
What?
To get the hardware for the RTX voice.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, but you know, you can play games on your graphics card, so
that's true. That is true.
It's a 2-in-1 benefit. But yeah, so I think that there's a good point to be made here. It's you there's a lot of free and cheaper alternatives you can have a cheaper mic and use completely free software to
Yep.
tune it in a way that sounds super, super crisp.
Yeah.
So just putting in that diligent work to even using OBS has, VST plugins and stuff. Like there's a lot of ways to customize your microphone to make it sound crisp, clear, and without any background distractions.
And one of the neat things I think about using a large number of USB microphones or having it processed through software is you can often get presets for your specific mic and conditions that you can just download and just plug and play.
Oh yeah.
One of the best audio setups I ever had was with a $60. What was it? It's Samson Meteor 2 or something. It's the first one I ever used with Adobe Audition, and I just downloaded somebody else's settings and plugged them in, and it was great.
You're good to go. Yeah.
Super easy.
Yeah, what Trevelyan says is correct. We live together. And he has. I mean, he's an audio engineer. He's got a very expensive. He's the best
I would
audio
trust
you're
Trav
going
with
to hear on
anything
Twitch.
audio related.
But
Anything.
it still doesn't really matter in the long run, because once you start getting to those subtle nuances, it doesn't translate well over. That's something to be mindful of, is if you start getting gear acquisition syndrome with this kind of stuff. You're going down the wrong direction. Turn around.
Yes. Turn around.
A good microphone is definitely worth its weight, but don't focus too hard on it, for sure. But audio definitely without a cam was important. So it is round back to the original. It's something that you should consider, just especially if you're starting out. Don't go beyond your means thinking it's the missing puzzle piece. Definitely look at different options.
Yeah, so long as it's, if you're able to, this is how I gauged it. If you're able to listen to yourself, listen to it back, and be like, you'd be okay with sitting and listening to, whatever this person is saying for several hours at a time, then you're good. You don't have to, spend a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, and like pretty much all of us have said in some form or another, when you're getting up into that higher end and very expensive gear, not only do you have to spend more money for it, but you have to spend considerably more time learning how all of that works in order to get the most out of it. Otherwise, it's a really waste of money. Yeah. And you're ultimately looking at very small percentages of improvement for each thing that you're doing. So, spending a considerable amount of money to get an 8% increase in your audio quality may not be worth it for the vast majority of people. You're pretty fine running at 92%.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who would go to like a list of just gear that streamers use and buy it all.
Yeah.
And then be deer in the headlights and message that streamer or somebody adjacent to say, how do I use any of this?
Yep.
And don't do that.
But frankly, if you're in it for the long haul, or if that's your intention, you get a lot of value out of taking yourself through the education process of learning it on your own. So you get your hands in there and your hands dirty with it. That helps you troubleshoot so much better in the future than having somebody else tell you exactly how to use that precise setup. Yeah. You don't know how to fix anything. And when you go to upgrade or replace pieces, you still have no idea what you're doing.
That's true. Yeah, I guess you're fine to message somebody. Just be willing to learn. I guess be willing to learn if you're really going to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
be willing to learn about all of it. So.
And it takes a lot of revisions, that is for sure.
It's definitely audio is I wanted the audio, the vision. Once I kind of realized it was something I wanted to do, I wanted the audio to be of radio quality or better, because I wanted that to be something that people could listen to. And I definitely, because I knew of my propensity to scream, I needed it to be something that the equipment could handle, So that was also a factor into why I took the plunge on a lot of audio upgrades as I needed that to be a thing, and I think that's worked so far for me. So
Yeah, that is probably that's a big reason for me for why I have a mixer and this microphone now, is because yelling.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good compression is super important.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So useful.
I would say, honestly, on the topic of audio, even for cams, even having a camera, I think audio is still more important to worry about. Like
It
with
should
the
be.
camera, you can get away with
Yeah.
a $50 mic, a USB mic, you plug
Yep.
it in, it's 1080p, you're good to go. Like
Yep.
with audio,
$50 cam, yeah.
like you could have a nice camera, a nice, $2,000 camera, but if your audio is trash, like people are not going to stick around.
Yep. Not gonna listen to it.
Here's the other thing too that just occurred to me, and it's a pretty big point related to the no cam streaming thing. In my experience, and this has to vary to some extent from stream to stream, but it's very difficult to actually get proper data on this. But so many people literally don't watch the video player at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally,
I'm guilty of that sometimes too.
no
Like,
matter how good the quality of the visuals of the stream are, they aren't even seeing it. Most
Yep.
people put it there and listen to you. It's comforting. And so the audio is primary cam or no cam for in part for that reason.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was part of not just for what I just said, but also I think a lot about the baseline, which is what would I watch, or what would
Right.
what would my habits be if I was going to look for something? What would I be looking for? So yeah, and a nice audio, because I'm very guilty of putting on a stream and cleaning the house or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Or so I lurk a lot in channels. I never really type because I'm doing other things. It's not that I'm not paying attention. I'm not paying attention to the chat,
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, audio is very important to cam or no cam. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people definitely keep you on as, I mean, I know for myself, I keep streams on just kind of as like background noise, whether I'm working or playing games and stuff like that.
Old work and work.
Yeah, that's something that I talk to my chat about a lot, is somebody will come in, and just say, wow, things are kind of slow today. And that's why the / thing that people are doing right now, I'll kind of address everybody and say, doesn't matter if you're working, lurking, playing games, etc. Just tab back in for a second, do a little / and it kind of just it lets everybody know that people are here, are just listening. And I think that's why having at least something of decent quality audio wise is important.
I like to do the golden kappa check.
So that too, yeah.
Because everybody wants to see if they happen to have the golden kappa anyway, and they're like, "Ooh, that's a good point."
Yeah.
True.
So we're almost out of time, but I want to ask you guys, especially Jade, who, you say that you've never streamed to camera. Do you have any plans to ever stream with a camera? Do you see yourself doing camera streams at all?
Not really. It's come up several times. There's been a couple of times where I don't really do a lot of subathons either. Again, because of that rapid growth thing. I'll do them sometimes. It'll be like a month thing. And the few times I have it, the first thing somebody always brings up is they're like, I bet you would get a butt if you just put like a camera at the top of the... And I'm like, no, I just don't want to. I wouldn't rule it out, because I have mentioned like doing cooking streams or something, but it'd be like a Babish thing, like I just at this point I the camless thing is a big part of the stream. I feel like to deviate that from that would be like a person who goes full cam to stop. I think it would be kind of jarring for everyone.
Oh,
so,
absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't really have any plans per se, no, outside of my normal use, which is to show a turntable. That's about it. Or a cat sometimes.
I have a follow-up question. Conventions. Have you been, and do people how do people find you?
You and I have actually met before.
We have?
Yes.
I totally remember that.
we didn't really meet in the sense like, hi, I'm SkinnedTeen, hi, I'm Lowco, but I don't know if you recall a bus in 2016 at TwitchCon that took several streamers to an event in Irvine, California.
I remember getting kidnapped. Yeah.
All of us thought we were going
Yeah.
to die in Tijuana. Yes. I was on that bus, and I think I was the first one that said, well, if we die today, it's good to meet you guys. Yeah, no, I was there. I've been to conventions. One of my favorite things to do is to not say anything or not introduce myself or not wear a name tag. This is such a jerk move on my part, but I will just kind of walk around and then I'll say something and I'll see how many people hear the voice, which is it's pretty frequent when I'll say something and like 5 people will turn around and go, wait.
Well, that's how I think it worked when I met you in person for the first time. I recognized we were at IHOP at a TwitchCon or a PAX or something.
That sounds about right. Yeah. I know
Max and Renee. Yeah,
I know you did it at like a there was a lobby at like PAX West or something where you recognized the voice and I could tell you looked at me and you were trying to put the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah.
You get the face then of them like
Yeah. No, I tend to go pretty low key, but I've been to conventions. I've been in the human petting zoo they call the meet and greets. I've done those things. I'm not necessarily comfortable with them, but I do them,
Right.
Do you let people take pictures with you?
I have, yeah. I don't mind.
Okay.
At that point, had I planned it out better, I would have actually really fully committed and worn like a mask or something. But
right.
Wow.
Yeah, because that just sounds funny. And now I guess I could because that's the norm. But
yeah, I mean now you have to.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
But I didn't. I've been to cons, so people have seen me. And I've never really done like business. We'll go with the SNES and be the roommate, I've never really done that. So yeah.
I had he's a streamer buddy of mine. He didn't even tell anybody that he was going to TwitchCon. I think this was last year. I think this was last year. He did, or last TwitchCon rather. He didn't tell anybody he was going. And I remember he came up behind me. He grabbed my shoulders. He'd never streamed to the cam. I don't know who he is, but he comes up behind me and he gets in my ear and he's like, "Hey, Big Daddy," and I was like, "Oh my God!" And that's how I met him. And it was my first time ever seeing him because he had never streamed with camera before. I was only able to recognize who he was by him whispering into my ears. Scared the hell out of me.
That's unpleasant.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But Hunter, do you have anything else, or we're gonna wrap it up here?
I do have something to say about the Elgato Wave.
Oh, well, do you now?
This segment is brought to you by the Elgato Wave as part of our Elgato partnership. That's how it works now.
Partnership.
The Elgato Wave 3 is a USB microphone. That's more like a microphone and mixer all in one. Double duty on that one. With Elgato's Wavelink software, you can easily route your audio from hardware or software applications and control the volume for you and your audience independently, which I absolutely love. And it makes it so easy. And to be frank, as I said when we initiated this partnership, it is idiot proof if I could use it on the first try. It is. Absolutely.
Yeah, for Hunter, that is a big endorsement, actually.
Idiot proof. Anybody can use this and make it sound great. The Elgato Wave 3 is available now at elgato.com, and you can type !Elgato in the chat for more information.
Awesome. And we want to give a plug to tomorrow's show. If you guys like this topic, we're actually going to be talking about this tomorrow on Behind the Streams. It is going to be about avatar streaming and face rig with Buff Pup, Frank the Pegasus, Adorably Rini, and Carly Cartoons. That's going to be at 4:45 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So basically the same time as the show tomorrow. So if you want to learn more, you want to learn about the avatar streaming, about the VTubing, Check it out tomorrow on Behind the Streams. Let's do some shout outs. Jade, starting with you, where can we find you and what are you up to?
You can find me at twitch.tv/SkinnedTeen. And
I wasn't ready.
This week's gonna be kind of well, I do a lot of variety. I hesitate to always say that because everybody always says that. But this particular week, I've been stuck in the deep dark hole that is Death Stranding. So I'm happy to get out of it for a week because PAX Online stuff. So I'm going to be playing a bunch of demos and talking about a bunch of like games this week, and then Talk Like a Pirate Day is on Saturday, so I'll be playing Sea of Thieves, but and talking like a pirate. But I'm on nights. Like I start around 8 o'clock at night Central Time and go well into the night, and that's about it there.
Awesome. Ziggy, what about you?
Hi, you can find me at twitch.tv/Ziggy, just Ziggy. Primarily have been doing GTA stuff as of here recently. I'm, wading more into, just variety games as, most people are these days. But as far as GTA stuff goes, I play a silly, lighthearted cop character. I also play a serial killer. It varies. As far as other games, stuff like that, I'm very community oriented as everybody is at this point. But I've been playing a lot of.
I don't like them.
Been playing a lot of games with the community a lot more now. So anyhow, as far as you can also find me on Twitter, ZiggyJG. Boom.
Cool. Hunter, what about you?
I am the Hunter Wild, as I have been again today. Is my first day into 38 years old, I think. Well, wait, do you count the birthday itself as the first? Maybe. Maybe it might be my second day into 38.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty happy with it so far. It's turned out to be a really great year for me. Very happy to have had this show today. Thank you both for coming on and giving your time, your wisdom, your experience, your expertise on the subject, sharing it with so many people.
Sure.
Y'all can find me at twitch.tv/thehunterwild, on Twitter at thehunterwildtv, and right here on StreamerSquare, sharing all the free goodness of everything we can do to help you learn how to improve your stream, start streaming, and take it to the next level, next to my incredible co-host and co-owner of StreamerSquare, Lowco.
When you describe StreamerSquare, you make it sound like some kind of dessert. You're just like this delicious,
delectable,
I want a whole plate of it.
It's rich and robust.
Knowledge.
Deep flavor.
Beef?
No, but sure. I said deep.
Okay. I can be found at twitch.tv/LOWCO, twitter.com/Lowco2525. I am gonna do some Among Us because that game is awesome. Played it for the first time on Saturday, and I need to play more. So if any of you guys want to play, hit me up. Let's play. Other than that, probably the new Avengers game a little bit. Check that out. Maybe some Fall Guys. I don't know. I play games and talk about streaming, and I talk about gaming news and stuff. So that's my spiel, and you can find me here on Stream Scene Mondays 5 p.m. Eastern. If you guys enjoyed today's show, make sure to hit the follow button on the Twitch channel because we do shows every single week here, 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday. We've got 6 incredible shows every single week to help streamers grow and also like mods too. We have a mod show. If you have any interest in streaming or being in the space, definitely make sure to hit the follow button. Check out our shows, and we'll see you next time. Like I said, we have a follow-up show tomorrow about avatars and face rig as a part of our no cam streaming discussion. So check it out tomorrow, 4:45 p.m. Eastern time. Set an alarm for it, and we'll see you next week here on the Stream Scene. Have a good one.
Thank you guys for having me.
Same.
Our pleasure.
Yay.